Hello from the Wynn Las Vegas in fabulous Las Vegas. So what I'm about to show you might look like a lot of chips for a 2-5 game. And I guess it kind of is a lot of chips for a 2-5 game. We're looking at a little bit under $3,000 here. Bad news is that I am in for more than that. They're getting me over here. They're getting me over here at the Wynn a little bit. So in this hand, we look down at King 10 of clubs in early position. Beautiful, 40% of a royal flush. We are in there, and we're in there raising. I make it $20 to go from early position, and there is a 3-bet in late position up to $65 from a pretty good Las Vegas grinder. There is another pretty good Las Vegas grinder, a friend of mine named Brad, not the Brad that you guys are mostly familiar with, but another Brad. He makes the cold call out of the small blinds. We're not going anywhere. We're getting a great price here. We're going to try and make a royal flush. We call. 3 of us off to the flop, which comes down fairly pretty looking for this King 10 of clubs. Queen 10 9 with 2 clubs, giving us a pair, a straight draw, a flush draw, and a straight flush draw. Hand gets interesting right away when the small blind leads out on this flop for $80. Again, this is a good player, somebody that I have a ton of history with, perhaps more history than potentially anybody in Las Vegas, potentially. So he's a good player. He should know that this board crushes his cold calling range. He can lead out with a variety of hands. He leads out for $80. Of course, we are not going anywhere. I make a call, and the player who put in that 3-bet in position, he gets out of the way. He makes the fold. Turn is not a great card. It's an offsuit 9. We do not approve, and we could potentially be drawing dead versus a variety of hands now. He continues wagering. He bets $125. Still don't think we can go anywhere. We got ourselves a straight flush draw. I make the call. River does improve us. It is the 6 of clubs. We make a king high flush here. Good news, bad news though. Bad news, interesting news at least, is that my opponent leads out again here on the river for $375. To a lot of people, I'm assuming this looks like a very easy, very trivial call here. If we're losing, then so be it. I don't think he's just going to be blasting away without a very good hand. I think that often he's going to have at least a very good flush here, and very often he's going to have a full house. Now, if I say that, then what is the point in calling the turn? Well, I mean, I had a straight flush draw, right? So even if he has quads, we're drawing to 1 out versus that. And imagine getting a straight flush versus quads. Imagine how sweet that would be. Anyway, we don't make a straight flush. We make the king high flush. And I make what is perhaps a fairly ridiculous fold with a king high flush, especially considering the fact that we are blocking full houses. We have a pair on this board as well. I don't think it's a very good fold a lot of the time, but versus somebody that I have a ton of history with, I don't mind it so much. I do let it go, and I text my good buddy after this hand is over, and he informs me that unless I folded pocket queens, then this was a good fold because he had 10s full of 9s. According to him, he didn't show it, but if he was lying to me, that would be really weird. I believe him. I think he had the full house there, and would have been nice to make a straight flush and just crush his dreams, but oh well. In the second hand, the $10 straddle is on. Action folds all the way around to me on the button, looking down at Queen 9 offsuit. I think it's good enough for a raise here on the button. I make it $25 to go. Player in the big blind calls, and the player in the straddle calls. Above is Queen Jack Deuce with 2 hearts, giving us top pair. So after action checks over to me, definitely wagering. I bet $55. Player in the big blind, he's very short stacked. He seems to like this flop a reasonable amount, enough to jam all of his $105 into the middle. Player in the straddle gets out of the way. Of course, we have, once again, a trivial call. The 2 of us are off to see the rest of the 5 cards, and the turn is an offsuit ace, which is not a very welcome sight. River's an offsuit 4. I wait for my opponent to flip his hand over because I'm not super proud of my queen anymore, and he shows us the ace-8 of spades, which knew it was coming. He knew it was coming somehow. He gets all in with the ace-8 of spades there, turns top pair. We cannot improve on the river. And like I said, they are doing it to us over here at the Wynn Poker Room thus far. There is a little bit of good news later on in this session. There's a player who limps from under the gun. The hijack makes it 20 to go. We've got an ace-queen of clubs in position. I'm going to make it $60 to go here on the button. Player in the big blind, he is that same player from the previous hand. He cold calls, the limper calls, and the hijack calls as well. So 4 ways to a flop this time. Queen Jack 6, 2 diamonds, giving us top pair, top kicker. All opponents check it to me. Of course, we're betting. I bet $150 in this spot. Big blind, as mentioned, same player as the previous hand. He calls all in. He is short stack once again, down to $100. He makes the call here. Other players get out of the way. The 2 of us are off to see the remaining of the 5 cards. I flipped my hand over this time because I was the aggressor. Turn is a 5, river is a 3, both offsuit. My opponent cannot beat the ace queen because he has the ace 3 offsuit, ace of diamonds, backdoor flush draw dreams, but ace 3 offsuit not going to stack up against this ace queen. So we managed to get a little bit of money here back, as well as in a couple of additional hands. I managed to get pocket aces versus ace king on a king high board in a 4-bet pot. Unfortunately, that hand was against one of the better players at the table in Las Vegas. You know, lots of grinders in town, as you might well be aware. The board was a little bit sketchy, so we can't get the maximum there, but win a few hundred back there, get the pocket jacks in a 3-bet pot, which is an overpair, win $400 back there as well. And we clawed back. We were stuck damn near $1,600 at one point. We get into this game for $300. We cash out for $2,785. So we're only down $215 according to my math. Now, I do have 2 functions to go to. The first one is dinner with friends who are in from out of town. Going to head over to Allegro here at the Wynn. Very hungry. I've only eaten a protein bar so far today, so looking forward to dinner. After that, we have a birthday party to go to over at Top Golf. And then after that, I'm going to try and go get some more hands in, maybe play some 5-10, kick up the stakes a little bit, try and get unstuck, have ourselves a proper Monday. Happy New Year, everybody. All right, I'm going for food and then more poker after that. Alright, so I know the occasional person tunes into this channel for poker tips. Here is one such poker tip. You should not play poker assuming you are trying to take the game somewhat seriously. You should not play poker after consuming 4 alcoholic beverages. Now, this is going to be one of those do as I say, not as I do moments. On the list for the Bellagio 510. Oh, and by the way, while we're here sitting in the Bellagio Sportsbook, while we're waiting for our seat, go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you're enjoying these videos, clicking the subscribe button, that will help you see more of these videos. All right, now let's go get them. All right, diving into the Bellagio 510 action, which is actually 5-10-20. The straddle is going to be on permanently, so we're just playing 5-10-20 here at the Bellagio. So in this hand, there's an early position limp before action folds over to us in the cutoff, looking down at pocket jacks, raising here. We make it $80 to go. Folds back over to the limper, who puts in the dreaded limp 3-bet. Bumps it up to $230, I believe. Of course, we're going nowhere with jacks. We're going to see a flop, but I'm not loving it. So I announce out loud to this man, no set, no bet. That's my motto.
No set, no bet, though. That's my motto.
Out loud. Yeah. All right. So here we go. Off to a flop, which comes down 6-6-5. Unfortunately, no set. However, my opponent checks it. So the motto is in place here. No set, no bet. I check back. Turn, not a very good card. Turn is a king. However, my opponent checks it again. Just going to take a free card here now. Of course, I check it back. The river, on the other hand, is a jack. And therefore, after my opponent checks it one last time, we are definitely betting. Now that we've made a set, which is actually a full house on this board. I fire out for $400, and my opponent goes into the tank before deciding on a call. So we roll it over, and we are scooping this one in here. Stuck to the plan. Very honest poker player. No set, no bet. Set on the river, full house. That's good, of course. Send it. All right, in this next hand, we are playing a little bit shorthanded. I think we are 6 or maybe 7-handed. The under the gun player limps in. Again, it's 5, 10, 20, so he limps in for 20. Folds over to the small blind, who raises up to $120. I am in the straddle spot looking down at pocket 8s. I'm going to go ahead and make the call here, and the player in the straddle position calls as well. So 3 ways to a flop this time. That comes down 4-4-3 with 2 clubs. That initial raiser in the small blind puts out a bet here, as I might expect him to do with his full range. He bets $120 with our overpair, medium-sized overpair. Don't see any reason to raise, and of course we're not folding. So I make the call, and the player on my left folds. Turn is not a great card. It's a king, although this time my opponent checks it. I don't think there's any point in betting here, so I check it back. River's interesting. It's another king, and once again my opponent checks it, so we can definitely beat some ace highs here, of course. Perhaps some other pairs, 7s, 6s, 5s. I think I'm going to try and go for some value here, try and derive value from an ace. If I have a hand such as Queen Jack suited, I think I would have to go for a bluff here, and I would potentially play it the exact same way. So I'm going to go ahead and fire out a wager. I bet $320, I believe. My opponent thinks for a little while before delivering the interesting news that comes in the form of a check raise. Raises it up to $1,000. Pretty interesting spot here, because I wouldn't necessarily expect him to check too many kings on the turn and the river. And how many can he really have, since there's 2 on the board? And if he doesn't have a king, then what else could he possibly have here that he is check raising on the river? So he's essentially repping a king that he would have had to have checked on the turn and again on the river. I'm a very curious participant in this hand. I know this player is a very good player here at the Bellagio. He's a Bellagio reg. He is, I would assume, a very balanced, very theoretical poker player. Very well studied is my guess. So I have to assume he would have some bluffs here, but what bluffs could he really have? If he has an ace-high type hand, say ace-queen, that has good removal to a hand like ace-king, certainly he could perhaps just find a call with that, because that beats my bluffs. So I do something that, looking back, I don't know what I was thinking, but I toss in the call because I'm so curious. And of course he rolls over ace-king, because what else is he really going to have? So yeah, I think I torched the additional $680 in this hand. You know, I don't hate my value bet on the river. Maybe I could go a little bit smaller, try and get a crying call from an ace. But I think once I bet $300 and some odd dollars, and he check raises over that amount, maybe find a fold here. Kind of not too happy with myself with this particular hand. But here it is. It's on the vlog. It will stay on the vlog for all of eternity, and I will be able to look back on this ridiculously played hand 10 years from now and still wonder why I made this call. All right, much later in the night, getting into the wee hours, as we tend to do here at the Bellagio. About 4 in the morning in this hand, when we look down at the King 10 offsuit after it folds to me on the button, straddle on once again, as it has always been. I make it $50 to go on the button. The player in the small blind calls, and the straddler calls as well. So 3 ways to a flop. It comes down King 4 deuce rainbow. Small blind checks. Straddler leads into me. She bets $50. Of course, I'm not going anywhere. I have like a medium strike king. I don't think raising is super necessary here. I make the call, and the player in the small blind calls as well. So still 3 ways, heading to a turn, which is another king, giving us trips. Small blind checks, and this time the straddler bets $300. And I'm actually a little bit concerned here. Of course, I'm not concerned enough to fold, but a little bit concerned. Perhaps she flopped a set, turned a boat. Perhaps she's got a better king. And to make matters worse, this player has also been owning me, as a couple of players have been on the table. She has derived value from me in a similar instance where she let out stop and go style with pocket 9s. So is capable of having some pairs, is also capable of having some stronger hands, and capable of anything. So anyway, $300, I'm gonna make the call here, and this time the small blind gets out of the way. Heads up to a river, which is an ace, and this time my opponent checks it. So what can we beat here? We cannot beat king queen, we cannot beat king jack, we cannot beat pocket 4s or pocket deuces, or ace king, but that seems unlikely. We can beat King 9, and we can beat pairs such as the aforementioned pocket 9s, things like that. Don't think we can get value from a hand like pocket 9s, and I would have to assume that my opponent would consider wagering something on the river here with trips still. So after she checks it over to me, I'm a little bit gun shy at this point. Not exactly been playing my best poker in this session, and just decided to take this one to showdown. And we get shown pocket 10s in this hand. So the trip kings are good, in fact, and I don't think there's too much value to be got there in this hand. If I knew exactly what she had, I guess I could bet small. But once ace comes on the river, kind of tough to get value from pocket 10s. So is what it is. That is going to do it. It is currently 4:30 in the morning. One of those kind of mornings, one of those kind of nights, one of those kind of days, one of those kinds of sessions of poker. Broke it up into 2 parts, and we're still here on the grind post 4:30 a.m. Very typical sights here on the poker blog. I got into this game over here at the Bellagio for $3,000. I cashed out of this game for $2,360, something like that. So really somewhere around $800 on the day. So between a 2-5 often 10 and a 5-10-20, not a big loss. Definitely did not play my best poker, but I've been getting a little bit more adventurous in some hands, which has been fun to explore as I've been in the lab a little bit. More on that in future videos. As far as this video goes, I will be in Biloxi, Mississippi, and if any of you guys can get down there this weekend, Brad Owen and myself, we're gonna have ourselves a little hangout at the Beau Rivage. We'll be out there starting this Thursday, the 12th, and we're gonna do a meet and greet type of a thing. I don't really like that word, meet and greet. We're gonna do a hangout over at the Top Golf Suite. Join us over there at the Beau Rivage if you can make it this weekend. After that hangout on Thursday night, we're gonna be hopping into their main event for the series that they call the $1 Million Heater. We're gonna be firing at that main event this weekend. And as a backup plan, uncapped cash games out there at the Beau Rivage. Should be a fun weekend in Biloxi. We've been down there before on the vlog, but it's been several years since we've done that. So looking forward to that this weekend. Perhaps some more poker from Las Vegas in between now and then. Signing off, a very sleepy Andrew from the Bellagio Sportsbook. See you guys very soon.